So the big case that we are all looking out for is the nationwide injunctions.
Yeah, that'll be the most impactful. But there's a dozen big cases: trans-related cases, gender care cases, states' rights cases, bureaucratic control cases, the rights of Doge to do what they want. Elon Musk may be taking a step back from it, but Doge is still rolling. So its power to do things, how it will work, all of that. Big cases with big consequences. And we'll decide, we'll see. Trump's need to go full Thomas Jefferson, full Andrew Jackson, full Abraham Lincoln, full Franklin Delano Roosevelt in challenging and confronting the Supreme Court will depend on what they do in the next 2 weeks.
The tariff one, it was D.C. appellate review that actually overturned the lower court, the commercial division.
Yeah, it's a specially created court. So you have a court on just tariffs, and that court, any appeal from that court goes to the federal circuit, which is its own circuit. We got so many ridiculous circuits, whatever, 14, 15, 16. It just keeps getting more and more and more and more. But that was the court. And the reason they reversed is because, to my knowledge, they have never found any tariff to be illegal for more than a century until now. Mm-hmm. Suddenly Trump's here, and magically the tariff rules all suddenly change as to his power.
Robert, you with your rant in our locals community, this photo, this is like what it feels like when you finally see the light of the red pill. It's like, oh my God, people are truly, truly evil out there. Who posted that? Thank you, guys. Okay, so that's good. So the tariff one, also in interim, Trump can impose tariffs on foreign nations as he deems fit, pending the adjudication on the merits. It's wild. So
there's a lot of confusion I'm seeing out there. Even though we've gone over it before, it's probably useful to go over some of the outer contours of what tariff authority is and isn't in the Constitution and how it all works.
Please do that. And I was going to go grok up what the precedent was. It was a 1932 decision. What's the precedent in tariffs, the president's right to tariff that everybody cites?
There's several big ones. Probably the three biggest are Marshall Field from the 1890s, J.W. Hampton, which involved the tariff laws from the 1920s. That might have been in the 30s when the decision was actually made, and the Algonquin case in the 1960s. So the Constitution provides that imposts, duties, and excises, as well as taxes, can be laid by Congress. So it comes within the legislative power. Tariffs are generally considered an impost. So in that capacity, the Constitution delegates that power to Congress. However, Congress has in turn delegated that particular power in the tariff context to the president because of its unique interaction with the president's otherwise exclusive responsibilities on foreign policy. And so for that reason, the only question that usually arises is, does a particular congressional statute authorize the tariff? And then otherwise, did Congress have the authority to delegate that particular right to raise imposts to the president? And every single delegation decision dating back to 1890, the courts have held that is absolutely Congress's entitlement to shift to that power to the president, because he's not writing the tariff policy. He's simply enforcing it and applying it as Congress has framed it for him. So Congress has the Trade Expansion Act, the Trade Act, the Tariff Act, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Those are the four most commonly used. You'll see certain references to subsections of those statutes. Section 232, Section 122, Section 301, Section 201, Section 338. All of these are different sections of either the Trade Act, Trade Expansion Act, or Tariff Act, where Congress gave broad authority to the president. If there's an imbalance of trade, then you can use tariffs. If there's a national security interest, then you can use tariffs. If there's an economic emergency, then you can use tariffs. If there's simply an imbalance of trade from unfair competition, you can use tariffs. There's all these excuses he has that Congress has explicitly given him, that this authority has been routinely and repeatedly upheld. Now, Trump was trying to expand one area. In the international, how's it phrased? Yeah, the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977. Congress said that he has broad authority to do things in the trade arena where necessary if there's an economic emergency. Trump's view was, we are in an economic emergency because we have insecure supply chains and we're running a national trade deficit that is unsustainable over time if we want to preserve both our security and our prosperity. No one had used that particular statute before for tariffs. That was the main one the Court on Trade was evaluating. And there are some people that think a particular appointee was a Trump appointee. They were not. The way the court works, that there's a certain balance between parties, but that really wasn't a Trump pick, is the short answer of it. But it led to Trump remembering how bad the Federalist Society had been and finally seeing the culmination of the criticisms that we had made and others had made of them, because tariffs is something close to his heart. And so what the courts held, for example, in 1890, Marshall Field case, was that Congress can, quote, broadly delegate to the president executing the law of tariffs because he's executing, not writing. Later, same with the J.W. Hampton case, later with the Algonquin case in national security. And I'll give you just one of the quotes. In international trade controversies, this is a highly discretionary field involving the president and foreign affairs. Every court and its predecessors, quote, have reiterated the very, very limited role of reviewing courts. There's supposed to be deference to the president. It's this deference they're refusing to grant him because they hate him, the individual, and they hate populism as a movement. So they have ruled for over a century. Every president has had their tariffs upheld consistently and continuously, no matter the scale of the tariffs, no matter the scope of the tariffs, no matter the statutory basis of the tariffs. This court's action is rogue and wayward and completely contrary to our precedent, the plain language of the law, and the Constitution's giving legislative grace in this precise field in these overlapping areas of imposed and foreign affairs to the president, as Congress has chosen to do so in multiple cases, in multiple contexts, all affirmed. So there's unfair. Here's the thing. As soon as that order was issued, first of all, a bunch of the tariffs were issued under other laws anyway. So the court's order was incorrectly portrayed by the media as, like Kalshi, the famous betting exchange, completely got wrong. That they said, Trump's tariffs are now invalidated and revoked by a final binding order. So people who had bet that the tariffs would stay in place were losing their bets because Kalshi was mistaken. Whoever was making that judgment had made a mistaken judgment for two reasons. One, that order wasn't a binding order because it was reversed by the Court of Appeals almost immediately. But secondly, the court's order only applied to some of the tariffs, not all of the tariffs. It only applied to those tariffs imposed under one statutory subsection. It didn't apply to all the other tariffs applied from all the other statutory subsections. So, Kalshi got that wrong. I hope they fix it and correct it. They've normally been really, really good, much better than Polymarket at these things. But when there's national security at issue, when unfair trade is at issue, when there's an injury to domestic injury, then he already has the power. He can institute it that way. So he doesn't have to go through the Emergency Powers Act anyway. He can always he just wanted as broad authority and as broad negotiating leverage as he could get. And so he went with the emergency law. Given everything that happened to us in COVID during the emergency law, the idea that you couldn't impose a tariff on China from the emergency law, but you could take away my right to go to church, go to school, see my family, leave my home related to emergency law is quite some judicial abdication of constitutional obligation and hypocrisy in their actions. But the Trump tariffs will stay in place in one way, shape, or form, and he will likely win, more likely than not. And because he's got so many alternatives, even if they were to say this alternative he doesn't have, there'll be other alternatives. Trump's tariffs are here to stay, whether people like them or not.